Let's get to today's questions. Let's go. Let's start with the first one from Maria Helena. Could it turn into a new Operation Car Wash with André Mendonça protecting the Bolsonaro supporters? I'm afraid of that. Look, it could. Unfortunately, we have to say that it could become a new Operation Car Wash, where they will do everything they can to keep Lula from being re-elected. But André Mendonça's decisions are made by the second panel. They have to be confirmed by the second panel. Which doesn't help much, because André Mendonça is there, Luis Fux is there, and Nunes Marques is there. All Bolsonaro supporters, we know that. So what about Gilmar Mendes? Dias Toffoli recused himself. It could turn into that. We have to keep an eye on that, okay? We have to keep an eye on that. The thing is, will what's done to Chico also be done to Francisco? Or will André Mendonça go after the left-wing crowd, either by making up situations or by being tougher on the left? Look, I don't believe that. I know that André Mendonça was chosen by Bolsonaro and all, but I don't believe that. I believe that justice will be done. Otherwise, it'll all get swept under the rug. With so many people involved, right? Like what came out today about Jax Wagner, right? That whole situation. There's already Ciro Nogueira. There's already Claudio Castro. Flávio Bolsonaro himself has to answer and explain situations that he hasn't explained until now, right? There's even a question here. I'll use this chance to mention it here. Look. From Maria de Lourdes. She says this, the question that won't go away. If the Banco Master case involves Bolsonaro and other Bolsonarist politicians more, like Tarcísio, Nicolas, like Tarcísio and Nicolas, why isn't the minister who is terribly evangelical and was nominated by Bolsonaro to the Supreme Court disqualified from hearing this case? Good question, because that doesn't create grounds for disqualification, okay? The fact that the minister was nominated by the President of the Republic does not make this minister disqualified or biased. Do you understand? The fact that Lula, for example, nominated Cristiano Zanin does not make Cristiano Zanin disqualified or biased in hearing any case involving Lula. Unless they are cases in which Cristiano Zanin was the lawyer at the time when he was practicing law. So the fact that Bolsonaro nominated Nunes Marques and nominated André Mendonça does not make either of them disqualified. If it is really established and proven that the Bolsonaro supporters, especially those who, by all indications, Bolsonaro's ministers, are involved, that doesn't prevent André Mendonça from hearing the case. It doesn't disqualify him, okay? Now we have to keep an eye on it, otherwise it could turn into another Lava Jato. Though I want to reiterate that I don't believe that. I believe that justice will be done, but we're keeping an eye on it, okay? Let's go to the next question here, everyone. Thank you for your question, and don't forget to hit the like button. A frank opinion goes like this. Good evening, Andrea Gonçalves. Please let me know. Has the clean record law been abolished? Will all these prospective candidates who are suspects, formally charged and under investigation continue deceiving the people and harming the country? Thank you for the question. So we have, you said it right, you said charged, under investigation and suspects. The clean record law requires more than that for someone to be disqualified from running as a candidate. Can a charged person run? Yes, Andrea Gonçalves, they can. Can a suspect run as a candidate? Can someone under indictment run as a candidate? Can someone facing charges run as a candidate? Who cannot run as a candidate according to the clean record law? That person who has been convicted by a panel for a crime. So in other words, if the person is convicted by a single judge, he can still be a candidate. He just can't be a candidate if he's convicted by a panel of judges, by more than one judge. That's what the clean record law says. That's why many times we see criminals running for office. Sometimes they've even already been convicted at the trial court level. But since there's still no conviction by an appellate court panel, cheers, Macho Brazil. And as for the women, he can be a candidate. Got it? So someone under investigation can, someone who's been accused can. A suspect can, someone under investigation can, someone being prosecuted can, and even someone convicted at the trial court level can be a candidate. So that's why it's really important when I ask you to like and comment on the live stream. It's not a joke. It's so we can reach more people. Why? Because many times the ones who will bring out the truth about a certain person, whether they're a criminal, whether they're not, whether they're a trickster, whether they're a bum or not, are social media. And we have to speak up, we have to show it. Because if we don't, soon there will be people voting for criminals without even knowing it. See? That's why it's so important. Hit the like button and share so people can find out. At least so they don't vote for those total jerks, right? Because for God's sake, here, Elenis Costa, can this thing with Senator Wagner and Master affect and harm Lula? Elenis, can it? No, let's lie. Jax Wagner, who was targeted by the federal police operation today, is the leader of Lula's government in the Senate. And he's from the Workers' Party. So this could cause some damage to Lula's government, that's clear. But if everything that the federal police presented, which I even showed you in the 12:30 live stream today, if all of that is true, if he received the bribe, if he received benefits from Daniel Volcaro, if he got an apartment worth more than 2 million reais as a bribe payment, if it was to help Daniel Volcaro's mafia, it doesn't matter. Right wing or left wing, my dear, they must be held accountable and jailed. Obviously, we are still in the investigation phase. We can't say they're criminals. They're suspects under investigation. And I read the federal police report as I showed you all in the 12:30 live stream. And there's a lot in there. And the suspicions are strong against Senator Jax Wagner from the Workers' Party. What needs to be done? Justice. And Lula needs to go public and say, look, let justice be done. Especially since Lula has already said, no matter who it hurts, the federal police will do their job. Lula himself decided that he won't cover up for anyone, and that's how it should be. Now, obviously, we have to wait. It's still in the investigation phase. There may still be an indictment, charges, a case, or a conviction, or not. And that's why I say we have to stay very alert. It's an election year. And there's the legal part, there's the investigation part, obviously. But there's also the political part, which we have to keep an eye on. So that soon we can have an analysis there. You already know, right? Yeah, the same rules didn't apply to everyone because of politics, because of shamelessness. So we have to stay alert. But I keep asking, is it Bolsa or Master? And you? I keep saying, it's Lula Tetra. And let's move forward. Let's move on, my handsome one and my beautiful one. Inez Alves, what if he runs for office and then gives up? Does he go back to being a senator? She's talking here about Flávio Bolsonaro, which I explained to you in yesterday's Q&A. If Flávio Bolsonaro withdraws his candidacy before registering, it's all fine, no problem. If he withdraws his candidacy, if it's after he registers his candidacy, can he withdraw? Yes, he can. He can renounce his candidacy. But there's a catch. If he withdraws fewer than 20 days beforehand, right? For the elections, which are on the first Sunday of October, his party can't nominate a substitute for him. That's the situation I explained to you. Now she's asking, if he gives up his candidacy, can he go back to being a senator? Because today he holds the position of senator. He can and will be a senator until December 31st of this year. Starting January 1st, 2027, Flávio Bolsonaro will no longer be a senator. Do you understand? So if he withdraws after registering his candidacy, because if he withdraws before registering his candidacy, he can even run for the Senate. Did you understand? He can even run for the Senate. But if he withdraws after registering his candidacy, he goes back to being a senator to finish his 8-year term, which ends on December 31, 2026. In other words, starting January 1, 2027, he won't be anything anymore. But will he give up, Andre? I don't know. I do know things are really bad for him. And I believe he'll give up if he runs for Senate again or for federal deputy, because otherwise soon he won't be anything anymore. Now, for him to give up just for the sake of it, I don't know, unless things are really bad and he's actually on the verge of going to jail. Otherwise, he won't give up. These people have no shame. People without shame have no value. See? Nothing, 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 nothing. Here's the other question. Maria de Lourdes, the question. And if the Banco Master case involves more, that's what I explained. The Bolsoninos, this and that and so on. Why does Minister André Mendonça continue to be the justice handling the case? Isn't he disqualified or considered biased? As I told you a little while ago, this does not make the Federal Supreme Court justice biased or disqualified because of situations where the president appointed him. Do you understand? It doesn't make him. The fact that Bolsonaro appointed André Mendonça as a justice of the Federal Supreme Court does not make André Mendonça biased or disqualified to judge the master case. Even if Bolsonaro, Flávio Bolsonaro, Eduardo Bolsonaro, Bolsonaro's ministers, and the whole group, all the Bolsonaro supporters are involved. Do you understand, my dear? That's the situation. Hit the like button, share the live stream, and leave your comment because it's very important. Every day at 8 p.m. from Monday to Friday, I'm here to answer your questions. And go ahead, ask your question, okay? Much love. Until next time, take care. Bye, bye, bye.